Shall we
Okay, thank
start?
you.
Shall we
Yeah,
start?
please.
Good afternoon to all the participants for the session on mechatronic system. Let us join to invite our session chair, Dr. Kalayarasan. Dr. Kalayarasan is an assistant professor senior in the School of Mechanical Engineering at Vellore Institute of Technology, Vellore, Tamil Nadu. He is the robotic laboratory in charge and established the state-of-art facility in the laboratory. Dr. G. Kalayarasan's research is focused on modeling of robotic systems, soft robotics, and fluid power system. His PhD work is related to the development and control of fluid power robotic system. He has 11 years of teaching experience and 1 year research experience in the remote handling section of Indira Gandhi Center of Atomic Research, IGCAR. During his service, he established 3 robotic laboratories with a net worth of 2.5 crores. He published more than 10 ACI Scopus journals, 23 international conference papers, and 1 book chapter. Dr. G. Kalayarasan organized various government-sponsored seminars and developed IIT Bombay supported E-Entra Regional Center at Coimbatore region. Currently, he is actively involved in various projects such as human robot interactions, soft robotics, design and fabrication of quadruped robot, position control of soft robotics using digital flow control units, designing an end-on tool for high-speed pick and sorting the tool insert and developing a mobile robot interaction system for human behavior monitoring. Sir, you can take up the session. We can first start with the paper ID. I hope the participants are there. Let us start the session with paper ID 02. Brain Computer Interfaced Controlled Wheelchair by
Yes, ma'am.
Himanshu Sharma.
Yeah. Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
You can
So,
start the presentation, Pa.
yes, ma'am. Is it visible, sir?
Yes, visible.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Himanshu, and my topic is brain-computer interface wheelchair under guidance of Dr. Saktivel Ji, sir. Sir. So basically, this my project overview is that introduction of objective literature survey methodology, brain-computer interface system, Neurosky sensor, block diagram, and control system, and then conclusion. So I'll start with my introduction. So basically, brain-computer interface wheelchair is specially designed for the paralyzed person who are not able to understand a normal not operate a normal wheelchair. So this wheelchair can be this wheelchair can be controlled by his brain. So basically, brain-computer interface acquires the brain signals and with the help of Neurosky sensor and convey to initiation and analysis their brain signals. So basically this objective developed a brain-computer interface wheelchair for mobility and enhancement quality of life for people who have difficulties in walking a person and spinal cord injuries and faces the problem of disability. So these are my literature survey. The most of the paper I have took from the IEEE. So I have studied about that. All the wheelchairs in basically the difference is they work on the speed of the wheelchair. So this is the methodology of my project, problem statement, literature survey, develop a mechanism, testing, assembly, then result. So what is the BCI system? BCI system basically work on the signal acquisition system. So that can which analyze the brain, analyze the data from the brain and convert into the signal and send to the microcontroller. So this sensor I have used in my prototype project. So that's work on the electroencephalography system. So this sensor name is Mindwave Neurosky sensor. So here is a 2-point, the voltage terminal which is touched to the our head, and this is a ground terminal which is put it on our ear. So this is a block diagram which I have which I have developed. So basically microcontroller is, I have used the Arduino microcontroller which is designed on the PCB plate, which control the LN298 motor driver, and the input and Bluetooth. The input signal is received from the Neurosky sensor, which is directly connected to the Bluetooth, which sends the signal to the microcontroller. So this is a PCB plate which I have designed a small Arduino, and basically the baud rate signal is 57600. At the time of programming, I have set with the help of the hyper terminal. So the standard baud rate signal is 9600. So the sensor connected. So this is the model. This is a prototype of my model. So the first LED is on. So when we connect the sensor to the wheelchair, so then it connected, the first LED is on. So attention level monitor. So at the time of program, I have set some attention level 0 to 100, which is controlled by the LED, which is controlled to LED according to these sorry sir according to these attention level, these LEDs turns on. So one by one. So this is a small working model, so which I have making. So I have sitting over there, and I control this wheelchair from the sensor which I have weared on my head. So I have inbuilt a camera on it, which is basically the monitoring purpose. Which with the help of the camera, we can monitor the wheelchair in which direction it has gone. So this is a sensor which I have weared on my head. So basically conclusion is that so this wheelchair is basically controlled by the Neurosky sensor, which work on the neuro cells. So this sensor is also doctors are using this sensor for the monitoring for the health monitoring system. And this technology is very helpful in artificial intelligence for GPS system and finding the maps and road, hospitals and buildings in future. So that's it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Himanshu.
Yes, sir.
Just to go to the methodology.
Yes.
Methodology slide.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I appreciate your work. This work is related concept. The concept what you taken and how you approach the concept is related to the project. It is,
Yes.
I found any components of research oriented stuffs in this project, but project wise is a good at what you made.
Yes,
So
sir.
instead of teleoperated, you are using some neuro based sensors. So
Yes,
that
sir.
is in the system, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
differential wheel mobile robot, right, which you developed, right? 2-wheel, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Uh, okay, fine. So this left and right wheels are being directed with the
Uh,
sensor input, right?
yes, sir. Actually, I'm working on it. To make a smooth direction, to give smooth direction. So actually, currently, I'm only programmed at only forward direction. So when our attention level increases by 80, so the wheelchair move in a forward direction only.
So you're not programmed for other direction, only forward direction you programmed it, right?
Yes, sir, I have only so this is my program, so which I have inbuilt. So these are the control by the which is control the attention level with the help of LEDs.
Okay.
Check the attention level, and so basically, actually, I'm working on it to move a direction left and right. So basically, I'm facing a problem in this. So that's why I was giving a program only forward direction.
Fine. So, okay, fine. Do you tell me what is meant by odometry error?
So audiometry.
Error. Because odometry is one of the important factor need to be calculated for the differential wheeled robot analysis. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because the point here is you need to direct the robot to some particular point, and it has to reach the particular point. Maybe
Yes,
your
sir.
signal will be correct, but due to the inaccuracy on the system of the mechanical system, it
Yes, sir.
may not be exact point. So the main cause is odometer. Okay, can you tell me what is? Do you performed any odometric error analysis?
No, sir.
So how the gap between left and right will influence on your accuracy level? What is the gap between your left and right wheel? The L distance. You have the two wheels, right? Left
Yes,
and
sir.
right.
Yes, sir.
What is the L dimension? What is the value of this?
So basically between the two, the 10 centimeters, sir.
10 centimeter.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you increase the centimeter, what will happen?
So if we increase a centimeter, so we have to given the specifically basically the dimension I was not calculated, sir.
Hmm.
So
So what is our idea about the inverse kinematics of differential wheel robot? So what is the input and what is the output for inverse
basic,
kinematics model? Response is okay, but according to my observation, this
yes, sir.
problem has been added some flavor of academic. So
Yes, sir.
that then only you can easily convert as a research article.
Yes, sir.
Showcasing the Arduino code and etc.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is not required for research objective.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Problem statement is required.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes, yes.
Okay. Anyhow, the work what you performed is good. Trying to improve the work towards the quality of research, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Ma'am, okay. Ma'am, let me go for the next one.
Thank you, Himanshu, for your presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
The next presenter for today's presentation is paper ID number 20, notifier of mushroom cultivation room using ED-SIM 51 simulator by SSN Alladi.
Good afternoon and good evening. I'm trying to share my slide.
Sir, are you having any difficulty? Naveen? Naveen, can you please help, sir?
Yes, yes. Sir, can you share your slide, sir?
Okay, I got it. So
Yeah, he
yes,
started
see my
sharing. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon and good evening. I'm Syed Sahal Nazli Al-Hadi. I'm from University Science Malaysia. My presentation, actually this is the work of my colleagues. Unfortunately, he cannot attend the conference. Okay, the title of the conference is Notifier of Mushroom Cultivation Room using ED-SIM 51 simulator. Okay, this is the outline of the presentation. I will start with introduction, the motivation of the project, also include the objective of the project, and then methodology, result and discussion, and we'll end with conclusion. So for the mushroom, actually diseases and pests actually do not often attack the mushroom fruiting body, and it can be grown cheaply and straightforwardly with the high yield. In this project, actually, among all of the Lotus SPP, Pairing G, which is king oyster mushroom, is chosen in this project to cultivate in the cultivation room. Since there are several factors will affect the mushroom growth that need to be apprehensive, actually are the temperature and the room area humidity. So in this project, the main objective is to give the early warning failure related to the changes in the temperature or humidity, where the design alert the cultivator as it can make sure the mushroom are correctly grown. There are some other detail related to the problem statement which I not include here. It's going to be a long discussion, so I will continue with the methodology. In this project, actually, we are using the 8051 microcontroller by Intel. Okay, this is the logic diagram of the notifier. These are the two phases of the software that being developed. Okay, each of it is the analysis of each phases, where there are two phases when building the software for this system, where in the first phase it simulated the temperature to be tested and analyzed, and the result of this phase will classify the mushroom either under normal condition, which can be harvested, or damaged, or considered as damage. The input in the second phase is the humidity, where as a result of this phase, the system will be classified condition as a high humidity, saturated humidity, average humidity, and dehydrated humidity. Okay, this is the result of the system that been developed, where in the first part, the low temperature, which is in between 0 to 9.9 degrees Celsius, where the LCD module will show the temperature value, and the second row will show the word low temperature, and show the name of the mushroom, the name which mushroom is in danger actually within this temperature. And the second one, the average temperature is in between 10 to 35 degrees, where the LCD module will show the temperature value and at the first row, and the second row will show the word means the normal temperature. Okay, it is the normal temperature for the mushroom between 10 to 35, and the fruiting temperature is actually between 20 to 24.9, where the will show the temperature value at the first row, and the second row will show the normal temperature, and also means for mushroom fruiting. And the last one is the temperature which is considered as high, where it is between 35.1 until 123.8 degrees Celsius, where the LCD module temperature will show at the first row, okay, the value, and the second row will show the word high temperature, which indicate that the surrounding temperature is high, and also it will show that the mushroom actually is in danger. Okay, in the second phase, the humidity will be tested and analyzed, where in the first analyzing is low humidity, which is between 0 to 84.9 percentage, where the LCD module will show humidity value at the first row, and the second row will show the low humidity, which indicate that the surrounding humidity is low, and then it will show the mushroom is dehydrating. Okay, SHT 75, this is a humidity sensor being used in the project. It will show the average humidity if it between 85 to 95 percentage, where the LCD module will show the humidity value in the first, and the second will show the normal humidity. And then we have the high humidity between 95 to 99.9 percentage. Okay, and as same as the previous one, it will show the humidity value, and then it will show the high humidity. Okay, the upper limit of SHT is greater than 100%. The LCD will show that humidity is saturated. Okay, this is the two phases that being tested in the project. So as a conclusion, the designation of this notifier was a significant improvement in the cultivation, especially for the mushroom, and the purpose of this project is to do only for a particular mushroom. And okay, we are using UART as a signal transmission, and then we use the SHT 75 as the sensor for humidity. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Sir, you can ask the questions from Aladi.
Okay, Aladi. So what is the major objective? Like, why this mushroom? What is it? This green room. What is the main purpose for developing?
Since we have a problem with the environment, it's not because of the either it is due to the pests that damage the mushroom, only due to the temperature and humidity. So that's why we are focusing on make sure that we can get the right temperature and right humidity for the mushroom, for growing the mushroom.
Actually, the green room itself is a controlled temperature environment, right?
Sorry?
So the green room.
Yes, yes.
It is in a controlled temperature environment, right?
Yes, but it's not
But
the
why
same.
you why you actually the study shows that low temperature, average temperature, and high temperature, right?
Yeah.
Specifically in Malaysia, the temperature from 0 to 9.9 degrees Celsius, I think it will not occur, right? That
we don't have that. We don't have that.
Then why you take account that particular temperature?
This is for testing purposes.
Only for testing.
Yes.
So what is the average temperature do you face there actually in your land?
24 to 27. It depends. In certain area, for example, in the high level area, it can drop up to 16 degree, 14 degree.
Okay. After collecting this data, what actually you are doing? What kind of analysis you are doing?
This is the fundamental work where we start with the simulation. We are using a simulator actually. We don't develop yet. We want to test either the simulator is working to the system.
Okay, fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Aladi. The next paper for our presentation today is paper number 44. 1 minute, sir. Paper number 44, Intelligent Shop House System. I request Azel Azman Abdul Wahab to start the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Can all of you see the slide?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can
Yes.
proceed.
Okay, title of my presentation today is Intelligent Shophouse System. So where the outline of the presentation will be some introduction, scope and methodology, result and discussion, and also conclusion. And we move to the first one, introduction. Based on the current situation in Malaysia, the R0, or what we call the reproduction number, has increased from below 1 to 1.1. So it
Sorry,
is
sir, for
important
disturbing.
for...
Hello. Sorry, sir,
Yeah.
for disturbing. We are not able to see the slides. Just we are seeing only one introduction part only. The slides is not changing. Can you please share the whole screen?
Okay, I think I have problem with the line connection. I think I will share not the full window, only just like this. Can?
Yeah, okay. You can continue.
Okay, I can move. Can you all see?
Oh, yes, you can continue.
Okay. Sorry about the connection line. So, so it is important for practicing physical distancings and also to allow a certain number of customers enter the premises to make sure that the premise is not crowded with people. So, however, this limitation of number of customer is not an efficient due to lack of staff to look into it. So in order to better practicing the physical distancing inside the store, a monitoring system is introduced to apply within the stores, especially convenience store, to limit the number of customers in automatic way. So beside that, the system also is embedded with IoT system, a platform where embedded devices are connected to internet so they can collect and exchange data with each other. And also the system will be designed to monitor and limit the number of customers in the store. And our proposed system will be using the Wi-Fi internet of an ESP32, which will connect the serial communication to IR sensors, servo motors, LCD display, and also LEDs. So if a customer has been detected by the IR sensor, so the IR sensor will send the data to ESP32, which will process the data and send the signal to the LCD display and LEDs and also the servo motor. And all the data is sent to the ESP32 for the processing purposes. So some objective of this project, we will provide smart monitoring system to limit the number of customers and display available spaces in the stores. And next, to enable the shop manager to self-adjust for the customer limitation in the store at any time and anywhere by providing IoT-based monitoring system. Next, to provide an improvement of current hand sanitizer dispenser to ensure hygienic of the customer and reduce spreading of virus. And lastly, to increase the productivity of the premise and reduce wastage of manpower. So some scope of the methodology, where in this project, the ESP32 and Arduino was chosen as our main processors to interface with all devices and components. And this project is mainly focused into three features. The first one is to the setup of maximum number of customer allowed to enter into premise through Android application and updated into the processor. Second one is the automated customer monitoring system to activate or deactivate the entrance of stores displaying the information in LCD screen, as well as number of customers inside the store on the smartphone application. And lastly, the scope is to use the contactless hand sanitizer dispenser, which will allow sanitizer to be dispensed without any contact to the hand of sanitizer bottle and generate a warning signal to users when the sanitizer is almost run out. So next is the block diagram of the overall system, where this block diagram is where the ESP32 Wi-Fi module is the main controller, which will receive the input reading from infrared sensors and upload the data into Firebase database using the Wi-Fi networks. And the setup of limit for number of customers enter the store is set through MIT application, and the data is uploaded to Firebase database. And also the microcontroller will get the data from the database and process the data as well as send the signal to the LCD, display, LEDs, and servo monitors. So this is the block diagram of the contactless hand sanitizer, where the Arduino is the main controller to receive input reading from ultrasonic sensor and water level sensor. When the ultra sensor sense the object within the range of 5 centimeter, then it will send the signal to the servo motor and carry out relevant actions such as activate the servo motor to dispense the sanitizer. And besides that, when the water level sensor detect the level of sanitizer, an LED will be triggered or blinking based on the level of sanitizer, such as when the sanitizer is used up, then the white LED will be blinking. So this is the 4 main page of the of the opening loading, user login page, user login page. After login is successful, when the upper part of the application, it will display the number of customer in the store, and then follow the customer limit, number of customer adjustment, and number of staffs, where which shop manager or staff can manually set the manipulating slider under each section. So this is the first interface, and then it will update the customer limit and also the number of staffs work in the store, so that when the user manually set the number limit, let's say 30 customer in the store, so it will show the data and update into the Firebase real-time database, which is as shown and read by the ESP32. So this is the example. So we have a green LED and red LED available in the system to show the accessibility of customer toward the store as shown. So the green LED is triggered if the number of customers inside the shop are not exceed the customer limit that's set by the staff or the user. Otherwise, the red LED will be triggered at the shop if crowded, the number of customers inside the shop exceed the limit, which indicates that the customer could not enter the shop until the green light is triggered again. And then this is the 2 infrared sensor, which will install at entry and exit lane to detect customer enter and leave the shop. The count of customer will increase by 1 as a customer pass through the IR sensor that located in the entrance door. Otherwise, count of customer will decrease by 1 for each time when a customer pass through the IR sensor that located at the exit of the door. And this is the servo motor, which control the movement of entrance door that will be turned to 90 degrees position, door open towards inside the shop as customer entering the shop. So the servo motor 1 will maintain its position for 5 seconds and will be turned back to its original position at 0 degrees. While the servo motor number 2, which will control the movement of the exit door, will operate the same way as the servo motor 1, but this servo operates when the customer leaving the shop. So as the servo motor facing each other, the servo motor 2 will open the door towards outside of the shop rather than towards inside the shop. So this is the mechanism used in this project. So when the LCD module in the figure above display the information to the customer, so it will display people entering and people leaving, which indicates the customer leaving the shop. So on the other hand, the LCD will also set up the display, store is crowded, and please wait a person to leave for the customer. if the number of customer inside the shop have exceed or equal with the customer limit set by the staff or by the manager. So this is the overall prototype for the contactless hand sanitizer. So when hand approach the ultrasonic sensor, the servo motor will dispense the sanitizer, and the sanitizer when the sanitizer level is empty, they will turn the server when the level is medium and when the level is full. So as a conclusion, by using this intelligent shop house system, the user or the manager or the staff of the shop can potentially reduce spreading the virus and able to make practice physical distancing among people in the store. Lastly, it is hoped that it can significantly help the user to move towards a smart, safety, and public health of technology. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Sir, you can pass on you can ask questions too.
Okay, fine. I will ask them. What is the name? Azam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Azam, can you please move the slide number 7? Go to the slide number 7.
Okay, this one.
Yeah, fine. So the idea what you implemented is actually interesting. Fine. I have some questions on the way how do you apply it. That is the question. First question, why you not use camera in this project? Because if you are using ultrasonic sensor to count the number of persons who enter into the shop floor, okay, we couldn't know whether it is a human being intervention, right? It may be anything. It's been cut the race, the system will count it, right? So
Okay.
how you can say it is an intelligent? If it is in a camera, we can say it will be more. We can write some algorithm and we can ensure, okay, that whether it is a human being or any other product or any double count, wrong count, okay.
Okay. All right. The main reason we don't use the camera because this project is allowed to have an budget around $70 only. So this project is given only 70 USD so that this prototype can be used locally. So that's why we don't use infrared camera and all that, because to reduce the cost, because you are given not exceeding $70.
Of course, all the shop may have the camera, right? In all the shop, but I have one problem in this project. You not define what type of shop you are taking, because based upon the shop, the accessibility of the persons may differ, right? So that actually in a boundary of it, maybe further development you can also take account of that. And one more question, why you consider a servo motor for open and closing the door? And also you are using servo motor for dispatch that what is it that
we are using because in this project it's under the mechatronics.
Yeah,
student.
you are also using servo motor for sanitizer dispatch, right?
Yeah,
so two places you are using servo motor. Why you are using servo motor? I think it can be done with simple relay concept. Servo motor is required for open and door close. In many application they are not using servo motors, right?
Yeah, that's right. Maybe in the future we can use another motor.
Maybe that is actually over. You are considering there is no purpose of motion control. Okay, if you are having of motion control, then it is preferable to use the servo motor. Since it is closing for sanitizing dispatch, you can use relay. Okay, valve. Okay, switch on valve. That is sufficient for you. That right?
Right.
Okay. Nice.
Thank you for the suggestion.
Okay, welcome. Ma'am, we can go for the next one.
Thank you, sir, for your presentation. Now I call upon paper ID number 49, exoskeleton upper limb rehabilitation assistive system by Lakshmi Sarvani and Anjali.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, you're able to see the screen, sir?
Yes, yes, able to see.
Yes, you can proceed, ma.
Yes. Good afternoon, sir. Myself, Anjali, and my team, Lakshmi Sarvani, we have worked under the guidance of Dr. G. Saktivel, sir. So our project is exoskeleton upper limb rehabilitation assistive system. So usually I want to start with the introduction. So according to the survey of 2019 of Bureau, like around 11 lakhs people have been identified as there is some kind of issue or challenge with the movement of limbs, which is upper and lower limb, both of them. So among these, mostly hand injuries are very frequent. And with physical therapy after the operation, physical therapy is one of the most important, and it is also very highly expensive. So the upper limb rehabilitation training is important because the human upper limb movement is more complex compared to the lower limbs. So in order to help the patients and recover as soon as possible, the machine and human interface of the exoskeleton rehabilitation robot is become very important and also very popular. Like if we see in 2018, around 500 USD million dollars have been invested only in the market of rehabilitation robots. So this is some of the literature survey, like literature review we have done. So we have gone through few papers for to see how it is working. Some of them are lower limb working of lower limb rehabilitation robots. So it is human locomotion system design based on CAM mechanics, then CAM mechanics design of human like exoskeleton, and then development of passive modular knee mechanism for a lower limb exoskeleton robot in a effectiveness of the workplace. And also we have gone through a paper, path and planning algorithm and their uses in the robot navigation system, and then design and performance evaluation of a variable passive cable driven shoulder exoskeleton, and design of an exoskeleton of a upper limb robot assisted rehabilitation based on co-simulation. So the main objective of our project is to model and to simulate, to design and to simulate a portable exoskeleton rehabilitation assistive system that emulates the human upper limb motion, and to incorporate appropriate control algorithm that allows the motion based on the patient's ability and provides assistance accordingly. So we have designed this model, this design CAD model was completely designed by us. So here, like in this design, in the second picture, we can see where we have planned to fix motors. We have planned to fix 3 motors, two at the shoulder joint and 1 at the elbow joint. So these will help in the movement of the during the rehabilitation movement of the hand. And also we have put a rest area for the hand, which will be which will be supported by a Velcro, and while doing the rehabilitation. And there is a box control system where all the control system and other electronic parts will be fitted, and it will be strapped to the back of the patient. So this is a more detailed CAD of how we have planned to design our exoskeleton rehabilitation robot. So my further slides will be explained by my friend Sarvani.
Good afternoon, everybody. Coming to the kinematic diagram of the system, ours, as seen in the CAD model, ours is basically a 3-degree of freedom system. So this is how the kinematic diagram looks, and we have also calculated the DH parameter table. Next slide. These are the homogeneous transformation matrices for the joints shown in the diagram. Next. Coming to the, can you go to the previous slide? Yeah. Coming to the mathematical modeling, first, since we will be placing 3 motors at the joints, so we have formed a state space model for the motors. The state variables considered are the armature current and the angular velocity. And here our output is the torque. So this is the state space equation. Next slide. So for modeling the whole system, the diagram shown, 3 such figures will be in cascade. So for the first motor end link, we have a set of 4 equations representing the voltage and the torque outputs. Next. So these are the equations for the remaining joints. Next. So for the model of the relation between torque and angular rotation can be obtained using these following 3 equations. So this is how the torque for each of the motors will be represented. Next. So this is the state space modeling where torque is the input and theta is the output. Next. This is the Simulink model. So for the 3 motors, we have formed the model. Input is given as a step input, and in this block, we'll be having the controllers. And these are the model, I mean, on the right side, we can see the modeling for the joints and links. Next slide. So this is the PI controller block. Where we have implemented a PI control. D we have not considered. So this is the PI block. Next. This is the fuzzy controller block, which will be calculating the correction in voltage and giving it to the, and based on which the torque will be calculated. In the fuzzy block, we have considered error and change in error as the inputs. Next. So coming to the results, this is the result for the PI controller. The top blue line shows the output of theta 1, that is the first angle at the shoulder. The red line is the theta 2, the second angle of rotation at the shoulder, and the below one, the yellow line, is for the elbow. And the other 3 lines show the angular velocity. Next. So this is the response of the fuzzy controller for a sequence of pulses, for which these are the kind of pulses that will be given for having an up and down motion of the joint, shoulder joint. Next. This is the response of the fuzzy controller. So this is theta 1, theta 2, and theta 3 for the 3 joints. Next. Based on the above graphs, we have calculated the parameters of rise time, peak time, overshoot, and settling time. We can see that the fuzzy controller settles faster and has a lower rise time than the PI controller. And it has also been found that it is more efficient to disturbances and perturbations than the PI controller. We can see it is the peak overshoot is more for fuzzy control, but it can be tuned to by modifying the fuzzification function and the membership classification to obtain optimal results. Because fuzzy is basically a continuous controller and it can give smooth output. These are the references. Thank you.
Okay, go to the DH matrix slide. Next one. Okay, here you calculate the individual transformation of the each joint because you have the 3 joints, right? Go to the diagram.
Yes.
How many joints you are having? Shoulder, elbow, then
So the first two are the
because the
kinematic.
last end is free, na only 2 joints. This one, na. How many? Where the 3 joints are there? This is joint number 1, na. Your mouse pointer.
There are 2. Yes, sir.
Okay, 3. Okay, go to the diagram, that matrix. Why you not calculated? Go to the slide. DH matrix. Yeah. Why you not calculated overall transformation matrix? This is the individual homogeneous matrix for each joint. Where is the overall transformation matrix?
So since it can be directly computed by multiplication, we haven't.
That you have to disclose.
So
Na?
it is not.
It is not there. And go to the next one. Where the single motor. Okay, why you consider single motor? Because in robot kinematics, you can calculate the joint velocities, then further you can derive the dynamic model for the configuration. There itself you can obtain the torque value. Then what is the meaning of calculating the state space model for the single motor?
So actually we have considered only kinematic modeling, sir. Dynamic modeling we'll be doing next.
Oh, see, if you want to do the dynamic model, you have to calculate the kinematic model. Without kinematic model, you can't able to perform the dynamic model. Correct? Already you've done with your kinematic model, right? So only one step is there, so that you can calculate the dynamic model. There itself you can obtain the torque value. That will provide a torque equation, either in Lagrangian method or Newton recursion method. So go to the next one. Here you are showing single motor. Okay, this is not a way related to the kinematic process. Next.
So it's a combination of the motor and joint and links.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you make it in that process way, like in a dynamic calculation, then only it is meaningful. Go to the next one. Next. Okay, how do you obtain this matrix? What
So from
here, what J stand for?
So the moment of inertia for the links.
I think this is you calculated. I think it's like seems like an image.
So it was typed in Word, sir. It was difficult to like get it in the proper format. So we took an image. So we have calculated that.
So here you have the velocity of joint 1, joint 2, joint 3, acceleration and velocity, correct? That is
Yes.
equal. Here you are having position and velocity. So here you can see, notice down the output result here, what theta 1, theta 2, theta 3, that is also reflecting there in the equation equal to the matrix, right?
Yes, sir.
That is correct. This equation, this matrix is correct. It is working for you.
Yes, sir. Because so if you compare, if you write it in an equation format, it will be it can be properly understood, sir.
No, then two unknown factor are in right side and left side of the equation. That is theta 1, theta 2, theta 3. You are saying you're going to calculate theta 1, theta 2, theta 1 dot, theta 2 dot, theta 3 dot by applying theta 1 dot, theta 2 dot, theta 3 dot. That is what your equation is stating. Okay?
Yes,
something contrast.
Actually, we haven't used this state model. Just we thought it will be easier to solve in a matrix, so that's why we developed. But we didn't use this.
If you approach the dynamic approach, either Lagrangian method, it is very easy to solve. Go to next slide. Go to the model result. First, go to the previous one. Here you are seeing PID controller and go to the previous one. Yeah. Here you are using PID controller or PI controller?
PI, sir.
PI controller. Okay, fine. So can you able to tell me it is in a single input, single output controller or multi-input, multi-output controller? PID or PI controller? What type of
Single.
controller is this? SISO or MISO?
Single input, single.
Doubt. Okay,
I'm not sure.
next slide. Go to the result. What is the purpose of bringing fuzzy here, but you not explore much about the fuzzy in this slide? Like what type of membership and what is your input and what is the output and how you frame the fuzzy, what is the membership functions? Okay, there is a table, right? So that combination you not explain here. Directly you saying that I implemented PI controller and fuzzy. So what is the necessity here? You have to bring it fuzzy here.
Sir, if we have PI,
Fuzzy is a predictive model. Okay, fuzzy is a predictive model. PI or PID controller is a continuously monitoring and do the error correction immediately. Still, PID controller not been replaced with any other intelligent system in industry up to the current scenario. Then, what is the purpose of comparing both?
Sir, if we use, so we thought like if we use PI, it will be a sharp variation. If we use fuzzy, since it is a continuous controller, the variations
That's
will
what
be
I'm saying. How
smooth.
you
So
say fuzzy is a continuous controller? It is correct,
so variations are not sharp.
Based upon the assumption what you taken as a input and what a membership function you are formulated, correct? That according to the rule what you frame, accordingly the output will deliver, correct?
Yes, sir.
That is what the fuzzy basically talking about. How you can apply fuzzy rule for the joint control. Here what actually you are controlling, I don't know. Here you propose the CAT model and you are saying is exoskeleton. Exoskeleton means that either need to be actuated, some reading some brain, some signal from the body and need to be actuated. Because your topic is talking about the exoskeleton, right? Especially for the upper limb. Okay.
Yes, sir.
But for that purpose, what kind of signal you are acquiring from the body or what assumption you made? Because since it is a simulation project, okay.
Since
Yeah. So then what type of assumption you are made? What type of signals you are receiving from the body?
so EMG signals. But we haven't gone like we haven't gone much into the signal processing and all that. We have thought consider. So we wanted to
Because
develop
that
into a
portion is
prototype,
completely
but
not there. You are not present anything about that particular portion. Okay, directly you are going to the CAD model. Then after that, this traveling towards the kinematic model. Then it is going for control. Okay, here if you are taking a control, then you have to talk about the error. Where the error is there or where the non-linearity is there, then the control will play a vital role. But what non-linearity you are facing, that is not described well in this presentation. I hope you can concentrate on that, and it is in a good paper where you can work out more to improve the quality and convert as a good journal article. Okay, congratulations.
sure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, ma'am, shall we go for next page?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Anjali. The next paper is the paper ID 107, Greenhouse Management System using EDSIM 52. The corresponding author is Dr. SSN Aladi, and Juan Ottoman can present the paper.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Chairman.
Yeah.
Let me share my slide. Can you see my slide?
Yes, sir, you can proceed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, good afternoon, good evening. This is actually the second paper which relate to the first one, but the only thing that this paper is more onto the general greenhouse management system. But we are using the simulator microcontroller 52 compared to the previous one. So the outline is the same. Actually, we are going to, I'm going to have the introduction which include the motivation and the objective of the system that been developed. And then I go to the methodology. Next, the result and discussion, and we'll end it with the conclusion. The plant grow faster with increasing air temperature up to a point where we have a variation of the temperature. However, at extreme high temperature, we slow down the growth and also increase the moisture loss. Where some annual flower and vegetable are susceptible to the cold, and the transplant should not be planted until the temperature are consistently warm. Wide temperature fluctuation can be hard on the plants and cause injury on plant with thin and smooth barking. General automation has become a new trend in designing this embedded system agriculture. So the objective of this project is to build a system with capability as below, able to build a greenhouse management system by using Exim 52 simulator, which implement with the AT52 microcontroller. Actually, this is for the proof of concept. Able to design and simulate microcontroller-based circuit to automatically monitor temperature and relative humidity and regulate the greenhouse environment. Okay, this is the block diagram of the system. We have a microcontroller, AT52, and then we have input. We use the SHT75 keyboard and switches, and then we have the output LCD, water pump, and ventilation fan. The block diagram, which we divide into a few parts: data acquisition system, microcontroller, display unit, and actuators. Where the data acquisition system consists of SHT75 sensor, which send the temperature and relative humidity inside the greenhouse. The sensor, we have to take some time to measure and send a digital output to the microcontroller, where the sensor SHT75 represented by the switch in the Exim52, we use port 2.0 and port 2.7. And LCD used to indicate the current temperature and relative humidity inside the greenhouse. The information is displayed on the LCD after the data measured, where the keyboard is used manually control the actuator by typing off and on. Okay, this is just to to replace. While the switch used to start a new transmission to measure the humidity inside the greenhouse. Okay, this is a simulation part. In the result and discussion, okay, here is the simulator output. The upper byte and the lower byte are sent to the microcontroller through the sensor after the temperature measurement expires, where the LCD monitor will show the temperature. Here we can see 37. If the temperature inside the greenhouse is higher than the safety temperature, 35 degrees, then the LED will light up and means that the water pump is activated. About 55 milliseconds. This is we set it to 55 after we make some data collation regarding the size of the water pump. Okay, this is the LED light up. So after the relative humidity measurement completed, the 8-bit data will send by the sensor to the microcontroller, and the LCD monitor display will show the humidity 89%. And if the humidity inside the greenhouse is higher than the safety relative humidity of 45%, then the LED 6 will light up, means that the ventilation fan is activated about 25 milliseconds. to decrease the humidity inside the greenhouse. Okay, and the next one, the user can type in the external UART transmission window to control the greenhouse actuator, the water pump, and the ventilation fan. This is by manually. If the user wants to activate both of the water pump and ventilation, then it can type on, it's type, and then it will send it to the microcontroller. Okay, after the word being sent, the LED 7 will be light up, mean that the water pump is activated by 55 milliseconds to the plants. Okay, as the water pump is off, only the LED 6 will light up, means that the ventilation fan is activated for 25 milliseconds. Okay, this is the LED 6. To decrease the greenhouse humidity, the ventilation pump status shown in the LCD and the LED on the simulator. Okay, this is the simulator output. So as a conclusion, where we have a proof of concept, the simple greenhouse management system met all the project objectives, where we use the AT52 microcontroller, SHT75 sensor, keyboard switch, LCD, water pump, and ventilation pump, where each of them plays a vital role to complete the project. Okay, and the system actually we simulate it in ATSIM52 simulator, which implement with an AT52 microcontroller without any error. Okay, the system can also monitor temperature and relative humidity and regulate the greenhouse environment by automatically control the actuator. Thank you. That's all from me.
And you can
Okay.
start the questions.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So the project, already you presented the project, that green room simulation for mushroom cultivation, right?
Yes, that one is for mushroom.
Most it is same kind of project, but it is about the monitoring the greenhouse. Here, this project, I observed that here some set point being provided on the case of humidity or either temperature, the respective output devices being triggered on. Okay, how you can say this is a smart system?
The first thing, when it can do automatically, we can consider it as a smart system.
Automatic, because automatic is already existing. Smartness is little bit ahead from automatic. So some smart action it has to made. For example, the speed of the ventilation fan,
yes,
may be reduced or decreased based upon the temperature. For example, in lower trigger point, the speed of the fan can be slowed down. At the higher temperature trigger point, maybe the speed of the fan can be increased. So if you are making such a level of automation or some smartness in the system, I believe that will be more interesting on the control, like control aspects. That factors is not been included in this project. That is what I am observing. The concept what you're taking is fine and very good, but if you added some kind of smartness in the system, like other parameters, 2 parameters you are taking account, various factors are there, okay, especially in the greenhouse. Take an account of that, and if you collect the data, and then a mission center will make a decision on it, and also it will learn like a learning curve. If you are developing a system, that will be a quite impressive model.
Yes, exactly, sir. Yes.
Journals or other stuffs, but this is not good what I'm observing. But I encourage, or my word is that you can add some smartness on the system that may improve your results in better way. Okay,
correct.
Thank you a lot. Okay,
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for
Ma'am,
your presentation, sir. The next paper ID number 116, Smart Frontal Safety Systems for Automobiles. The corresponding author is Y.S. Govardhan. Govardhan?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah, good afternoon. Yeah, you can start sharing. Give your
Yes, ma'am.
presentation.
Is my
Good
screen
afternoon
visible to
to
me?
hello.
Is it visible? It's visible.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Good
you.
afternoon to one and all. Myself, Maidar, my teammate Govardhan, and we are here to present our project, Smart Frontal Safety System. Coming to introduction, cars are used as. Govardhan, change the slide.
1 second. Yes.
Coming to introduction, cars are used as commercial vehicles for years. When it met with an accident, the only safety measure it has an airbags. In several cases, airbags alone may not be able to protect passengers due to its high impact. So we came up with the idea of adding new safety system that reduces sudden impact of a car in frontal crash situation. The ultrasonic sensors are placed in front portion of vehicles, which is set to propagate and receive ultrasonic waves while moving. The change of distance from the sensor to the obstacle is monitored continuously, and in event of emergency, the bumper is actuated forward to certain distance, and by striking the obstacle, the impact force reduced by springs provided in the system. Hence, the impact to the passengers will be less when compared to the direct impact. And the literature review we did next. The literature review we did so far from the first paper, radar sensor for front, rear, and side automotive. We found out antennas are used to detect vehicles and obstacles, and it occupies a volume of less than 90 cubic centimeter. And from second paper, automated crash notifications, we found principal direction of force estimating damage in side and real wall collisions. And from third paper, we found ability of vehicle to withstand collision and to prevent occupants from injuries in event of collision. And from fourth and fifth paper, we came to know the vehicle structure stability and its adverse effect on passenger and drivers. Next, this is the pictured view of our idea, and we are concentrating on triggering part of our project, and further development will be done in future. And our objective is to simulate the triggering in velocity by considering two major conditions. Those are when a vehicle is moving above 60 km/h and a distance between them is less than 1 meter. And to evaluate and combine mathematical representations in transfer function model, and to find response of entire system, and to design mechanical drawings of frontal shock absorbing system. Next. This is the block diagram of our system. If the two conditions are satisfied, then the power will be given to the motor, and the motor is connected to rack and pinion. Rack and pinion is a type of linear actuator that compromises a circular gear engaging a linear gear, which operates to translate rotational motion to linear motion. By then, our frontal shock absorbers will expand by opposing impact force. The next slides will be explained by Govardhan.
Sir, here the mathematical expression for the DC motor, which is used as an actuator for triggering the system. And the basic circuit diagram for this is like this. And from the mesh equation of the DC motor, we have derived the transfer function model for this DC motor. And here it is. And this is for the frontal shock absorbers. This is the force balance equation. We have derived the force balance equation from this diagram and the basic circuit diagram for this suspension. And for the better understanding, we have just derived the simple examples for comparison. Like force is given as voltage here, and we have derived all other parameters into the electric parameters, as you can see here. And with this, we have derived the as per the transfer function model. And this is the force balance equation for that suspension and spring and damper. And based on the, we have expressed the electrical system like this from the electrical circuit of suspension. And from there, we have derived the transfer function model for mechanical system like this. And this system is going to engage with the compensator and also the PID controller. I will explain later on why we are engaging with those two. And here, the reason is like the mechanical system and the controller part is going to get integrated for the response, whether the expansion of the frontal shock absorbers within the range and within the time at a particular speed. And because the reason here is like the vehicle, when a vehicle is going in above 60 km per hour and the distance is less than the obstacle and the vehicle is less than 1 meter, the system is going to get triggered, and the triggering action will help the frontal shock absorber to move out to get it to absorb the impact force. No, it's not going to absorb fully impact force, but it's going to reduce the appropriate impact force, and it also reduces the passengers injuries inside the cabin. For that, this is the concept, and two mathematical expressions for this. And this is like, as I said, I'm going to explain the why I'm using this compensator and lead compensator and PID controller. The compensator here we are going to use is like to increase the speed of the system. Our system is going to act in less than a minute, less than a second as well. And because when a vehicle is going above 60 km per hour, it will cross within a fraction of a second, it will cross 1 meter. So our system has to be act in such a way. For that, I'm introducing this lead compensator. As per that, I have designed the compensator here, and I have just derived the compensator design from the control system designer from MATLAB. And for that, I got the responses like this for my mechanical system. And here I'm going to integrate both the mechanical system and controller part, and in the MATLAB by using simulation software, Simulink. And this is Simulink diagram is for the DC motor, which acts as an actuator. And this DC motor will rotate at an appropriate speed, and it will push the racks out at a high speed. For that, I'm getting the response. I'll show it in other two slides. And this simulation is for the MATLAB, mechanical system, whereas these two simulations are joined. And for this presentation purpose, I have just split it into two divisions. And this simulation, the output of the DC motor, which is the motion, the linear velocity from the rack, is connected to the frontal shock absorbers, and that is the input for this one. And from that, I am getting the output like this. I'll show you that. The response for the actuator, which is a DC motor. Likewise, we have got like an step input like that. And this is like I've just zoomed in within the 0.1 seconds how it's reacting, whether it is reaching 0.5 meters or not. As you can see here, at 0.04 seconds, in y-axis, it can able to reach 0.5 meters. By in the action of rotation, which is in the action of rotation is converted into linear rotation. And this response is for the entire system. The system is like integration of both the controller, which is the DC motor and the linear velocity, and with the frontal shock absorbers, and we are getting the responses like this. And it seems like based on the calculations, based on the impact frontal shock absorbers, the additional inputs are given for them, and for that the time required is more than the DC motor rotation, so that the 0.5 meter is reached in 0.08 seconds. For the simulation, in the simulation, here you can see the mechanical designs for the frontal shock absorbers. This system is like when the system is going to sense from an ultrasonic sensor whether the distance between the two vehicles or an obstacle is less than 1 meter, and only when the vehicle going above 60 km per hour. If these two conditions are satisfied, our system is going to trigger. As per that, the triggering portion is going to deploy the frontal shock absorbers, and it is going to absorb the impact force. And these are the two just basic pictures for the mechanical design. Our conclusion is like these two integration will just improve the system from the conventional model, and the fusing of compensator with the mechanical system will also increase the speed in the simulation purpose. And in here, the stability, in the simulation purpose, the stability can be increased by using the PID controller. And then the whole entire system is controlled by the controller, whether it needs to act or not, and it won't act in the lane deviation purposes and all, and it only acts in the front side of the car. And the furthermore process working and the development of this project will be carried out by building a real-time product for this application. This is all we are having, sure. Thank you, sir.
Okay, fine. Go to the model where you are using what kind of suspension it is? Front suspension, huh?
Yes, sir. Frontal shock absorbers, sir. Frontal shock absorbers is like we are using.
It is a liquid-based shock absorber.
Yes, sir. Hydraulic shock absorbers only, sir. Along with them, we are going to inbuild the springs also. Like
put together, if you are first of all, the ultrasonic sensor need to detect. Okay.
Yes, sir. That is the part, sir.
In this part, at least you can perform that kind of sensation. The collecting time. What is the millisecond is required to sense the signal and want to give back to the controller.
Yes,
and based on your controller speed, clock speed, and the output need to be triggered. The output want to actuate the rack and pinion mechanism, and these things need to be done in less than 1 second.
Yes, sir. Exactly, sir.
I think practically, if you go with this idea,
with this ultrasonic sensor, for this representation, we are using this ultrasonic sensor, sir, because we are planning.
My knowledge, practically you will fail in this concept. Actually, it's not possible for you to be in a action conversion within the less than 1 second period. But the way you approach is appreciable because you developed the mechanical model, and then you develop the motor model, and then finally you club it. Instead of that, you can use the sim mechanics, right? That is a multi-body.
Yes,
why you not use that package? Because there you can include the efficiency of the gear system, okay, and the mass, the weight of the rack and pinion. Then you can get an almost close result. Why you are developing by using the Simulink? There is a library called Simscape.
Okay. Okay.
Why you not use that? You know that or not first?
We know, sir. We know that, sir.
Simscape. Yeah, in Simscape you can see the mechanical body, that is mechanical system is there. There you can develop this kind of structure, and you can connect your electronics logics also.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, but according to my observation, I think instead of using the short range sensing like
ultrasonic IR,
you can go with LiDAR or other sensors, so that may improve. You can give some sufficient time to make the system to act. Otherwise, practically you face difficulty on this idea.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
I understood, sir.
Fine. Okay, fine. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Now the next paper ID is the operational challenge in online self-learning education by Deepali Gupta.
Ma'am, actually you're running out of time, right? You have to complete by 3:30, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, ma'am. This is the last or two are there?
Paper presentation, sir.
This is the last presentation, right?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, okay, fine.
Ma'am, hope my screen is visible.
Yeah, the screen is visible. You can start with your presentation.
Okay, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to present my paper ID 117, And my paper titled as Operational Challenges in Online Self-Learning Education Adoption. Okay, in this PPT, I'm going to cover these topics: introduction, literature study, challenges, and proposed solution and conclusion. So starting from the current situation of COVID-19, COVID-19 pandemic has affected all aspects of life, including the educational sector also. In most countries, educational institutions have been closed and shifted to e-learning platforms. Some higher educational institutions have chosen MOOC platforms to assist them in progressing and surviving further. MOOC provide interactive user forms that helps in building community for students, professors, and teaching assistants as well as provide immediate feedback to quick quizzes and assignments. There are many MOOC platforms available online such as Coursera, Udacity, Swam, Udemy, and many more. But to find out which platform provides relevant and appropriate content is difficult. This research helps learners to choose the right platform for them by knowing their levels. I have studied these papers, and while studying the literature, we have found two types of challenges. Basically, first one is challenges that are faced by learners, and second is faced by instructors. So starting with the challenges faced by instructor, uh, challenges are important because it is related to the cost of teaching. Based on the previous studies, researchers are not focused exclusively on challenges faced by instructor. It is mostly based on the instructor's overall experience and also secondary consideration behind the learner's perspective. So these are various challenges that are faced by instructors. MOOC instructors' initial job is to prepare the course curriculum. Organizing the clear and concise content for delivering in a specific period of time is itself a challenge. And for recording 10-minute lecture, the recording team asked the instructor to repeat the lecture many times. Once the lecture is launched, instructor faced pressure to solve each individual. It's very difficult for instructor to means he is facing pressure to solve each and individual query. It is difficult to satisfy the curiosity of students in a short period of time. This can also become the reason that students drop out from that course. Although many researchers research the learner's behavior pattern to know the reason why they left the course after enrollment. According to a survey, after registering, only 10% learners complete the MOOC courses. Okay, these are the challenges that are faced by learner. Online platform is actively uploading latest content and are updating their course curriculum at regular interval of time. Somehow, online platforms give additional knowledge to learners, but still learners face many challenges. And MOOC courses follow three modes, basically beginner, intermediate, and high level. Sometimes learners opt high level courses so that they can complete the whole course in one shot. But at the end, they lost their interest from that course. These courses become challenging for them to complete, so they left those courses. Sometimes learners need to wait after registering for MOOC courses. When learners finally start doing that course, they find out that till now only first week material is uploaded, so they need to wait more. And in some cases, MOOC courses require much more attention that had initially expected by the learner. They fail to manage between their institute work and MOOC work. Learners enrolled in courses and then they think that they complete these courses in their free time, but this kind of courses never completed by the learner. Social influence also plays an important role in dropouts. Social influence can be positive or negative, both. Sometimes learners are under the influence of their friends that these courses are not suitable for them. I have conducted a survey through Google Form and asked some questions to a university students related to MOOC. MOOC courses. So in this survey, 170 students participated. And during the survey, I have some findings that I'm going to discuss here. Students think that MOOC courses help in their personal growth, and universities are also motivating to join MOOC courses. MOOC platforms provide extra knowledge apart from traditional curriculum. Most of the students said that that yes, the curriculum that MOOC courses are followed are very advanced. So MOOC platforms provide opportunity to share knowledge all over the globe. Through online e-learning platforms, learner can learn various training programs and courses and also get opportunity to share knowledge all over the globe. So the proposed solution for this is that e-learning are frequently greeted with uncountable products of e-learning material. So customization is the required plan for providing a great user experience. This type of recommender tool is significant tool in different numerous web domains like e-learning websites. There should be a common platform for students for e-learning. The expected solution of this problem is to build a recommender system that compare all the courses at one interface after analyzing the user's profile. With this approach, retention rate automatically decreased and instructor also feel relieved. The conclusion of this paper is that the education system changes rapidly and many platforms are available on the internet. If any no-voice learner searches for courses on the internet that due to lack of knowledge, they are unable to decide which platform is better for them and they choose the wrong course, which leads to an increase of the cases of dropouts. So in order to avoid this, a smart recommendation system is the need of an hour. The recommendation system plays a key role in recommending courses by understanding users' profile or based on the previous learner's behavior. So these are my references, and thank you.
Sir, you can go for
Okay, fine. Right. The entire decision of this system is basically based upon the user profile and their learning behavior,
Learning
right?
behavior. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. User profile, how do you are collecting the data that 70 student you studied, right?
Yes, sir.
Survey been conducted for 70 student, but you not disclosed what parameter of user profile you collected, like which age, which course they are studying. Okay, because in the same classes, some students will have interested on some courses, may not have interested on other courses. But to complete education system, we have to score minimum mark of all this content, right? We should not able to avoid, for example, a student will do good in science, but he is poor in maths. So he can't able to avoid completely the maths subject, right? At least he have to score the minimum mark. Okay.
Yes,
So that kind of various study, it's not, what parameter you actually take an account to collect the data, especially student profile.
Okay. Sir, first of all, this is just a survey that I have used 170 students data. But for creating user profile, I'm extracting data from various social networking sites like LinkedIn, Indeed. These sites, I have already fetched 1,000
That is
plus.
collecting data. Survey means, see, that is collecting data. That's I accept. But
Yeah,
you should have some questionnaires, right? You not shows the questionnaires.
Actually, sir, for user profile, I'm just, okay, I'm working on some parameters. First of all, I want to tell you this.
That you not list out, right?
Yes, sir, because currently I'm working on it. Yes, sir.
Because
So my parameters are...
making a survey, generally,
yes,
if you're
sir.
making a survey means the questionnaires is important. What are the questionnaires you're going to ask the user? Okay. And what you collected. And the behavior monitoring is based upon the continuous monitoring during the class time. Okay, that how you going to monitor it? What are the parameters you're going to monitor it? That is all not been disclosed in this presentation. If you added this all the stuff, maybe this work will be more useful in the current scenario. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you for your
Fine.
suggestion, sir. So can I tell you about my parameters that I'm using?
No problem. Not right now. Please add in your future works, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Once again, thanks to all the participants who have made every attempt to present their papers. And now I request Dr. Kalaiarasan sir to summarize the session and announce the best paper for this session. Kalaiarasan sir.
Ma'am, I have to announce right now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay,
You
fine.
can just summarize the session and you can announce it, sir.
Yeah, fine. Actually, the work presented by nearly 7 papers they presented more than 1.5 hours. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So the common observation I found in all the paper, I have to summarize, means I have to tell about each and every project, ma'am, or?
Sir, overall you can summarize, sir. Like.
Okay, fine, ma'am, fine, no problem. So that brain computer interfacing project, that's as earlier commented, it's a good idea, but need to add some academic and research flavor to that particular paper so that it can be improved further. That especially the two papers belongs to SSN Alhi. They are related to the monitoring of greenhouse and the mushroom cultivation. I observed both the paper studies are related to the simulation alone. Okay, but collecting the real field data or any previous collected data, if he performed it, I think that will be in a good good output. But only simulation is there in particular two presentation. And there is one of the interesting thing is intelligent shop house system is there. So there the particularly the Asman, right? So he performed some hardware experimental setup, and he demonstrated the idea what is the currently applicable and very useful idea. That's paper ID 44 is there. And exoskeleton, as I commented earlier, I found some discontinuity on that research approach. Okay, if they will be good. And finally, yeah, the smart automobile system, right? Automobile safety system. Okay, there also it's a good attempt only, but simulation is there. And finally, that challenges on online learning, the survey questions and the other stuffs are lagging. Rest of things, overall the presentation and idea, actually the idea, what you are taken is very, very good. I appreciate each individual of their idea. The core idea is exactly fine for every individual. So I want to make any one decision for the best paper. So overall, I am making the decision on two bases. I am taking account the simulation as well as the experimental purpose and useful to the current scenario. According to that, I select the paper ID 44, intelligent shop house system. So that has real application in current scenario. The idea is also good, and if we added some good things in that, and it will be a good and useful product convention. It will be very useful. Only one paper, ma'am, or any other?
Only one paper, sir. Only one paper.
Yeah. Congratulations, Asman.
Congratulations, Mr.
Asman is there.
Asman is there. I think he left.
Okay, fine, no problem.
Okay, anyway, so many congratulations to the participants, and it is time for us to thank our session chair, Dr. Kalaiarasan, who has been here for the past 1.5 hours, sharing his valuable suggestions to each of the participants. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks to all the participants for presenting the paper for this conference. Thank you, one and all. Sir, anything you want to share, sir, Kalaiarasan, sir?
Nothing, ma'am. Nothing. Congratulations to everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
Thank you, Naveen. You've been very patient with us, and yeah, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll meet. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
I'm leaving, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine.